I like poking fun at Iwata guys because they are the most sensitive group of painters that I've ever met in my life. Things like that, you end up with customers that are nightmares sometimes. But straight up didn't believe in it, didn't feel like doing it. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to make a video on this. You don't want me to make a video on this. I mean, either give value or trigger somebody. I like doing both.
On this episode of The Spray Show, we sit down and talk with Joel Langston, aka Olie Olie Paintz. He is a really popular content creator on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. This is actually a really cool conversation. Honestly, it's fun for me to be able to do interviews like this, especially with some of my good friends, which him and I have been really good friends for the past year or so. It was nice to kind of talk, and honestly, I learned a lot just from it. I think you guys will get some tactical tips when it comes to content creation, some interesting background to his, journey in the industry and what he has planned for the future. So sit back, relax. Make sure you guys subscribe to The Spray Show. If you guys are on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anything like that, make sure you guys leave a review. It actually helps a lot. I know this is just the first episode, but we have a lot cooking. And I hope you guys really enjoy the first episode. All right. So now you are going to be our first, guest on The Spray Show.
Oh, God. All right.
Obviously, you can introduce yourself. Obviously, I know most people know you as Olie Olie Paintz.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself and then kind of your background and how you got into the automotive industry.
My name is Joel, or as everybody knows me, Olie. I got it. I've been spraying paint for the last 10 years. Detailed at a Toyota dealership, doing paint corrections, touch-up stuff for 10 or 12 years before that. And I've always been into cars anyway. So since I was a little kid, my grandma used to help my uncle with a body shop and painted cars in the 70s and 80s. So it's kind of, it's in the blood, man. So here I am kind of continuing the legacy,
Right. So how did you transition from, touch-ups and detailing to actual full collision?
So my step uncle Delane owned a body shop called Blue Body and Paint, and I was working at Toyota at the time. And he hit me up and was like, "Hey, man, like, why don't you come detail for us? If you like it, maybe you could start prepping. I can teach you whatever you want to know." So I ended up going over there, took a massive pay cut to learn, but did that for 6 months. And then, it was like I seen an opportunity at the auto auction, and I knew I was going to get a lot of gun time. So I said, screw it. I just threw caution to the wind and went for it. So, yeah, that was literally 10 years ago this year.
No kidding. That's cool. So you were doing detailing and touch-ups, meaning spot blends or literally touching it up?
So rock chips, spot blends, things like that.
Okay.
But we did
using
a
a lot
ton
of spot blender.
Yeah, and we did like a ton of paint correction. My buddy Craig actually still works at that Toyota dealer doing detailing, and he's killing it. I don't know how he buffs all day. I would lose my mind.
Dude,
I'd much rather just spray it.
So I actually started kind of doing the same idea, right? It was not necessarily touch-ups and that kind of stuff. It was more I did liquid wraps and then detailing, and the detailing honestly is still to this day one of my favorite parts of the entire process, which I know a lot of people hate. Dude. Yeah, see, exactly.
Yeah, I'll let you have that, man.
Yeah, dude. When I want to relax and literally just jam out to some music and chill, that's my favorite thing to do is just full wet sand and buff. 800 up,
give me
show car.
Give me a 3-stage paint job, complete in the booth. Let me put my headphones on and leave me the hell alone. That's where I want to be. You can keep buffing. I'll go in there and fight some stuff.
That's I see. I guess that's right. What you're saying, that's peak stress for me at least. Only because most of my jobs are restoration and custom, right? In the collision, it's slightly different, but still you're in a time crunch. Dude, when I'm wet sanding and buffing a restoration, whatever, as long as it takes, you know? And it's gonna be perfect.
Yeah, I don't have that luxury.
Yeah, dude, it's totally different. That's why I like it, because I can take my time and make sure it's perfect.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's. So when I was at the auto auction, everything I always said everything was on fire. It all had to go right now.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then, dude, when I switched to the shop that I'm at now, I got to slow down. So I took the skills that I
Yeah, that's
had,
cool.
slowed them down and honed them, and now it's like we've gotten to a point at the shop where it's like everything is scheduled pretty damn good to where it's not like, oh my god, all of
Yeah.
this has to be done right now. So it worked out, you know what I mean? Because I'm pretty comfortable under pressure as it is, but
Sure.
yeah, it's being able to slow down is insane because yeah, I can verify colors are as good as I could possibly make them and just
Yeah,
make
dude.
sure it all
And
comes
like,
out just right.
yeah, and like it's more it's better for you, right? Because like
Yeah,
obviously
yeah,
you're able to take a little bit more pride in it, right? I mean, we've both
yep,
been flat rate, I'm sure, in the past at some point, and like everything
yeah.
has to be done like super quick, like the
Well,
quote
that leads to poor
can't
quality a lot of
well,
times.
exactly, and that's kind of the
That
thing is like you can't see it from my house or it'll be better outside. Like that comes from that
yeah.
type of world.
Yeah. Well, and it's like there I've known so many guys that are flat rate that are excellent technicians, but
For sure.
you and I both know that if you pay a guy what he's worth, say you take the average of that flat rate, you
Yep.
give him that every single month, take that stress off of his
Right.
shoulders, the work
Absolutely.
is going to be twice as good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's pretty much our shop, you know.
Yeah, whenever you were telling me that the other day, I found that really interesting. Like, if I was gonna own a shop, that's exactly how I would want to do
Yeah,
it.
it's like
Exactly.
you just start people, starting them on flat rate's a good idea because then you get a
Sure.
baseline.
Yeah.
And then you average it out. Say you do it for 6 months, and it's like, okay, here, this is your 6 month average. This is what we're looking at as a guarantee. Every 2 weeks, this is your check. It
Yep.
works out to say 160 to 200 hours flat rate. Does this work?
For sure.
It's
Yep.
it's better pay. It's better for the bosses anyway because if you got to hold off something to work on something else, you're not worried about the time.
Right. For sure.
So
So
that's
now,
the biggest benefit.
yeah, and let's back up a little bit, only because I know a lot of people watching the podcast maybe doesn't even know what flat rate is, or maybe
Hmm.
they're interested in potentially joining the industry, and that
Hmm.
might be the two options they have, and they're trying to figure out what's best for them, especially starting out or starting to grow. So I
So
guess, yeah, if you want to explain flat rate, I think that would be a good place to start.
So flat rate, it's pretty simple. So like, say they bring a bumper to you, it pays X amount of hours, regardless of how long it takes you to get that bumper done. So most bumper covers are going to be anywhere from 2 hours to say 3.5, right?
Right.
So you
Yeah,
have
that's
to
about right.
prep the thing and get it in the booth and paint it within that time, have it match. I mean, you'll have added lines that are
Yeah.
like color match, tint time, things like
Sure.
that, but you got to get it done in that amount of time.
Right.
That when you're starting out, dude, can be pretty stressful. You know what I mean? And that's,
Especially when you start.
yeah, when you're starting out, it's like it's almost better to just start at an hourly rate that makes sense and do that for a year and really get comfortable, but track your hours at the same time. So it's like
Right.
where you're landing every 2 weeks. So
Exactly. Yeah. That
if
way you
it's
kind of
worth
know.
going flat rate or staying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially because
Yeah.
flat rate, right? Flat rate normally is a cheaper or less monetary value per hour, but you're usually able to make more hours. So
Yeah.
let's say you're doing
Yeah.
a job and it pays 3 hours flat. So if your rate is $20 an hour flat rate, that means that job, no matter how long it takes you, is going to pay you $60, right? And that's kind
Yep.
of the idea. So if you're really
Yep.
fast, you can make really good money. I mean, I know a lot
Yep.
of guys, they're able to do 150 to 200 hours a week.
Well, I've got a buddy of mine right now that he's flat rate at a big MSO, and he's averaging right now that within a year he'll make 200 and what did he say, $235,000
Yeah.
in a year.
Yeah.
I'm like, as a
Right.
painter, he's not
Yeah.
prep, or no, he is prepping, but it's insane the amount of money that you can make once you get to that high level if you stick with
Yeah.
flat rate.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy,
Well, it's also like you
but you
get to
kill yourself
hire
at the same
people.
time.
Oh, exactly. You either kill yourself
That's the
or you
thing.
hire someone underneath you to prep and have everything done for you. And all you
Yep.
do is go in and, squeeze the trigger, basically.
Yep, literally.
Yeah. But all right. Well, so I guess, all right. So you started, you were detailing, and then you were doing spot and panel. Then you got in with the auction, right?
Yep.
Now, how
Yep.
did you get to the shop? Or I guess the transition from that to where you're at now. I guess how did that go down?
So I was at the auto auction for about 5 years, and my best friend Spencer and I mean, we were the two guys in there that were really like pushing to
Yeah,
up the quality and like just
and he's your
do
helper
good
now,
work.
right? He's
No,
the same helper
he's our
now.
no, so he's one of our lead body techs at the shop I'm at now.
Oh,
He
okay,
left as well because
gotcha.
yeah, we it was one of those situations where bad management just led to everything going downhill. And it was like, okay, I seen the writing on the wall and I knew that I could do better for myself. And the first
Right.
shop that I went to was the shop I'm at, and she
No,
made me
that's
an
cool.
offer I couldn't refuse. So I
Yeah,
said,
no,
yep,
that's
I'll
cool.
get my box.
Well, it's also great because, like, I mean, I know a little bit about the shop you're doing now, right? They very
Hmm.
clearly are, they like the quality, right? Which is
Yep. Yep.
not the norm in the collision industry, right? They just want stuff done and they want to get paid, right?
Yep.
So it's nice to see that they're willing to kind of not have you flat rate, so you don't have to kill yourself. The quality can be up, and then
Yep.
also kind of like they're cool with you doing content at the same time, right?
Oh yeah. Well, not only that, it helps the shop as well because, I
Exactly.
mean, I've had customers that like watch their car through the process through my videos, and
Yeah.
they
Right.
loved it. They're like, "Oh, dude, like I seen how everything was done," and
Yeah.
it kind of gives them a different kind of appreciation because it's not just spraying paint on a car. It's like we have to make
Exactly.
sure that a whole checklist of things are done before your car gets back because it's got to be pre-accident condition. You know what I mean? As
Right.
good
Right.
or better than when you dropped it off.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and obviously I deal with mostly, custom shops and like that kind of stuff, right? And that's kind of more my background. And a lot of times, when I talk to some of my customers that own a custom shop, like a real small shop, like they're their only employee, right?
Yeah.
And when they're estimating jobs, most of the time they don't even go line by line by line, right? They're just kind of like, oh yeah, it's this size, this color, it's going to be X amount, right? You don't with that you're not only screwing yourself because you don't actually know how much you're going to make per hour, right? You're just kind of
Yeah.
guessing, and then also you're not showing the customer your, I guess, your worth, or why it costs that much, or
Yeah. What they're
why
paying
it should
for.
cost. Yeah, dude, like you're not giving the value. So like with your content, like you said, like the customer is able to see the value because they're seeing each project and how much time goes into it, how much love and
Yeah.
care goes into it. And like
Yeah.
that's kind of one big thing that, with the spray source, I'm launching the TSS professionals, and I'm gonna have the installer map. And with the installer map, we're gonna be able to like estimate jobs kind of like free, right? And then with that, I'm
Yeah.
also gonna have content that's gonna be kind of talking about a lot of this. Is like, you should be line item estimating, right? It's gonna,
Yeah.
disassembly is gonna take you 8 hours, right? 8 times whatever your rate is how much that should be. Everything should be time and material in custom world.
Yeah.
Just like
Well, an
how,
R&I takes forever anyway.
right, and like the collision world, like obviously there's a lot of bad things about it, but one good thing is that it is standardized, right? Like
Yeah.
this takes this amount of time. You get paid for this amount of time, right? In the custom world, like you just kind of have to make your own standard, right? Like
Yeah.
because like every job is going to take differently, right? And you just need to be
Absolutely.
able to you just have to track your time, just like we were saying for the beginners. It's the same for, a custom shop, because if it takes longer, you should get paid for that, because it's not like, unless it's obviously like your fault it took longer, right? But
Yeah. One
you know,
a good person that would be somebody good to talk about that is Ryan Durbin, Turbo
yeah,
Durbo.
I love Turbo.
So
Yeah,
dude, he has that down pack. Like that
hell
dude,
yeah,
as far as resprays and
absolutely,
restoration stuff, I love picking his brain because he just,
yeah. Boy, that's what he
he's got it
does. That's
all.
all he does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah, me too.
And all of his
Yeah,
work is just like freaking flawless. It's
no, it's
nuts.
primo. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Good dude. Yeah, I definitely want to have him on the podcast. I actually sent him a message like a week ago, kind of
Oh, I'll
talking
get him.
about
I'll
a couple
get him.
things. Yeah, yeah, that'd be cool. So I guess now let's change over to the content side, right? Like
Hmm.
now, when it comes to the content side, I guess how did you start into it, and what honestly what triggered you to get into it?
I didn't want to do it. Like I straight up didn't believe in it, didn't feel like doing it, but we had a social media guy at the auto auction. His name's Tanner,
Okay.
and he seen potential for paint videos on TikTok, and he was like,
Sure.
"Oh, dude, you need to make these videos on TikTok. I think a lot of your content would be really helpful to guys on there." And I'm like, I don't want to do that. Well, then he filmed one day, and I think it got like 1,000 views. I'm like, that's kind of cool. So then I just made a couple more, and then one did like 10,000 views. I'm like, man, maybe there's something to this. Well, then I started getting questions on how I did whatever was in the video,
Yep.
and so I made a reply video explaining what I did, and that one did like 20,000 views. And then I kept getting questions and kept answering, and then it just
Yep.
snowballed, and now it's one of those things like it's a second job because content takes,
Oh, for
I
sure.
mean, you know just as well as I do that it takes a lot of work to get your job done, get content done, have ideas. And I mean, some weeks it's like I'll put out, 2 videos because it's like I'm cooking, I'm
Right.
coming up with different ideas, and
Right.
I'm busy at the shop, so it's like I got to just buckle down and get my work done, and then I can worry about videos. But it's just been a wild freaking ride, man. Because I've been doing this for 5 years now,
I,
and I mean, obviously,
that's
content. It hooked me up with you. It hooked me up with
well,
Eastwood,
exactly.
Milwaukee, and all of
Right.
these guys.
Yeah,
It's
dude. I mean,
crazy.
it opens a lot of doors. It's interesting to me that you didn't want to do it, but like
Yeah,
I guess so. When you first did it, was it more like tutorial based, like answering only, like specifically just trying to help people?
yeah,
Was that like what you were trying
yeah.
to
Well,
do?
and that's once I decided to like just commit to it.
Hmm.
That's literally all it's been since then. Is like just it's helping people, and like I guarantee I get more DMs than any other guy on freaking Instagram that paints because I reply,
Exactly.
and I'll have 5 conversations going almost every day, just like
Yeah, man.
helping guys troubleshoot things because
Yep.
tech reps, dude, they don't have any good tech reps these days.
No.
Like all the
No.
ones that I had when I started with Sherwin, they either retired or they moved on to different companies, and it's
Yeah, man.
now I got to play tech rep, and it's
Yeah,
it's a lot, but it's totally worth it because those guys I know they appreciate it and need it.
for sure. For sure. Yeah, and I mean that kind of piggybacks on like why I started doing what I do, right? Because
Yeah,
all those companies didn't have great tech, right? Most of the people, they're not
yeah,
painters. They're reading off the TDS like you could do yourself, you know?
yeah,
And like being a painter by trade kind of like, helped me develop a lot of the products that I have, right? Help
yeah,
make a lot of the videos, tutorials, and obviously like a lot of the people I talk to, like you, right? It would be really difficult to have a real conversation about like the industry and what we're doing and that kind of stuff if I didn't do it myself, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's kind of the same idea, and plus, like all the big companies, they all got bought or whatever by like a bean counter, so all they're caring
yeah,
about is what they're making in their bottom line, kind of the
yeah.
same
It's just
deal.
it's interesting, man. Like, and content. I mean, content isn't just. I mean, it's hard to explain because content is more than just like the education side of it.
For sure.
Obviously, it's entertainment as well, and
Well, yeah.
that's that I think is part of like where a lot of like the Instagram and the TikTok stuff came from. Because I'll make videos where it's just
Yeah.
me spraying something and not really
Right.
saying anything, but
Right.
yeah, it's just interesting. There are so many guys making content now.
No, for sure. But like also with that, like even if it is just a video with music and you spraying, right? It
Hmm.
actually I've found because obviously I share a lot of your videos, right? And
Yeah,
almost all the comments, they're all like, oh, like why did he do it this way? Oh, that's so
yeah,
interesting. His overlap is like 75 or 50 on that color or whatever. Or
yeah.
like
So you're
a good
still
example
seeing how
too.
it's done.
Yeah, man. And like it helps someone just by visually because like everyone learns differently, right? And
Yeah,
like that's why like videos and content is actually a much better learning tool for a broader audience rather than just a TDS, right? So
yeah.
that's kind of, that's one really big thing that I think, you know, I know you don't consider that to be learning, but I know firsthand
It,
that people
I
find
know
that
it
to be
is.
learning. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it is. Well, and it's like a lot of. I don't know. I'll get comment sections that go buck wild. Sometimes I'm sure you've seen
For
them.
sure. Oh, yeah. Dude, you should see some of the
And
ones on
it's
like
like
my
you
linear
show.
block videos.
I know. It's just that's the only downside to content, but that's why I put that video out the other day talking about just do it.
Oh
Like
no.
who cares what
Yeah.
anybody says? Like
Right.
just have fun with it and put yourself out there. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, dude, you're doing it for you, and then the people that it's gonna help.
Yeah.
Who cares about the people
Yeah.
that don't? Will never like actually support you. Will never actually buy something from you. Will never actually take your
Yeah.
advice. Just they're not even there, right? That's kind of the
Well,
whole
it's
idea.
it's it's that quote, Goggins quote, where he said, "You'll never meet a hater doing better than you." That it's a
That's a
fact.
fact.
Like it's
That's
an
total
absolute
fact.
fact because it's always those guys that comment negativity, and then you look at their page, and it's like, dude, you're not doing
Crickets.
anything though.
Crickets.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're not helping anybody by being negative. Like you're just upset in your life, and here we are. You know,
Right. Yeah, for sure.
but
So with the content, I guess obviously right now you're doing mostly stuff that's either answering questions, helping, or just spray videos, right?
yeah.
Do you have any goals for this year for like other types of content that you want to make?
So I'm really working on YouTube stuff and
Like long
along
form stuff.
with yeah, long form stuff and like I just edited a video a little bit ago. Well, chopped one up, but
Cool.
I'm gonna do a video for YouTube just called "Is It Worth Being a Painter in 2025?" and like
I
just
love that.
kind of yeah, like just kind of going through like what to expect and like yeah, I've got a whole list of topics that I'm going to cover, but just explaining what it's like to actually be in this industry.
That's all.
And maybe I'll do one, about doing automotive paint content and what that's like. And
I love
should
that.
you
I
do it?
really like
You
that.
know,
I really like
well,
that.
it's stuff like that it's like, I just want to inspire people because
Yeah,
like at the end of the day, going to work isn't going to work for me. Like I go to work with my best friends
I
and
say
my
that every
boss
day.
is, yeah, my
Yep.
boss is literally like family to me. So it's,
Yeah, dude.
my kids are always down there with me. My fiance, she cleans the building every Sunday.
Oh, cool.
So it's a family ordeal. And yeah, content is kind of the same way.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I love that too, because like you said, like I wake up excited to like do whatever is gonna come every
Oh
single day.
yeah.
And it's always something
Yeah.
different, right? Like and same for you, right? You're not painting the same color every day. We're not like a factory. You know?
Yeah.
Every job's
Yeah.
different. You're around the people you like, you're doing what you love. It's fun, it's challenging, like you're always engaged. Like I'm
Yeah.
totally with that.
I'm always talking smack too.
Oh, dude, no
Yeah.
kidding.
You were around me in Vegas, man. That is
I was
my
just about
number
to
one.
say.
Oh, dude, my number one job in the shop is just talk smack and make everybody at least laugh a little bit during the day. So I talk a lot of crap all day long.
Oh yeah. Yeah, dude. Yeah, actually I think the next guy on is gonna be Henry Housel, our buddy Saucy.
Oh hell yeah, bro. Yeah, dude, he's my brother from another mother, man. I love that dude.
Dude, he cracks me up.
I know that, dude. Vegas was so fun.
Oh, I know. Yeah, we definitely got to do something like that again. I'm hoping
Oh,
sometime
dude,
in the spring I'm gonna have like a some sort of meetup or something, right?
you need to
Obviously,
get a
me.
project to spray, bro.
I've got that. I've got that in the works. Don't worry.
Yeah,
I'm
get
doing
a
metal
pro.
work on it now. So
There you go.
once it's out of body work, that'll be the goal.
Go.
Like the goal is I want to get all the metal work done, and then I'm gonna fly Colton in from Linear, and we're gonna do a bunch of
Yeah,
videos and like podcasts and that kind of stuff, doing the body work
yeah,
side, right? And then I'll do the priming and then the final blocking, and then I'll fly like you and a couple other guys in to do the paint before SEMA. I want to
yeah.
unveil it at this coming SEMA, and I think that'll be cool.
We got to do it more than 2 weeks before SEMA this time,
Yeah,
though.
dude, don't even get me started.
I'm just saying, my boy. Come on now.
I know, I know, I know, I know. All right, so I got a few questions when it comes to the collision industry specifically, right? So
All
you've
right.
been in it for about 10-ish years, right? That's what you said?
Yep. Yep.
So with that, what have you seen? What kind of big changes have you seen in the industry, in the technology? Because obviously you're doing a lot of stuff with different spray guns and the UV primers, the water-based systems. Like, what are the big
Yep.
changes you've seen? What have you seen people adapt really quickly and others be a little bit slower to do? Like, like the UV primers or like changing
Yeah.
from, a siphon style gun to like, a traditional our traditional HVLP or
Well,
RP
like,
or whatever.
so when I started, there wasn't very many like good cheap gun options. So we'll start with spray
None.
guns. There was
None.
not any, like, the cheap spray gun was the $15 Harbor Freight, and not to say that that's not a pretty dang good, pretty dang all right primer gun.
Right.
But as far as like spraying paint and having it look nice, it's not a real great option.
No.
So that's why I ended up with a Pro Light as my first gun. It's still $600.
That's funny.
And then now you fast forward to now, it's like I made a video the other day that today it's hard to find a bad spray gun.
I agree.
You know what I
I agree
mean?
completely.
Like, well, you can get a Harbor Freight Black Widow and they spray fantastic.
Yeah,
You
$300
can get,
or $350 or something.
yeah, and like Eastwood, both of their spray guns, fantastic.
Right.
You can go online, get on eBay, and order up a China Special, and it's going to spray all right. Like, there are spray guns for every budget.
Right.
But then, as far as like other changes in the industry, let's go to say UV primer.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one that always gets a lot of comments because guys don't understand like the capabilities of it.
Right.
And I've obviously you've probably seen the videos where I mill thickness and show how much per coat you're actually getting. I mean,
Exactly.
2 mils per coat, dude. That's
a
insane build.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
my
easily.
AP 7541, which is a 75% solids. You know, I think it's a 2.8 mils per coat, but like that's like super high build. You know, like super build from Evercoat is 2.1%. Or 2.1 mils per coat. So like,
but you think about it, and it's like, okay, well, 2 mils per coat, and everybody's like, oh, it's transparent. It's like, it's supposed to be.
Color-wise.
These products, they have to be they have to be transparent in order for that light to penetrate to the bottom, so they through cure.
Yep.
And the big thing the other thing that people can't wrap their head around is these products don't shrink.
Right.
So once you cure it with UV light, it's set. There is no movement. It locks down body work as well.
Yep.
So like all your filler work and everything like that, it's not going to move because it is absolutely locked down by that UV primer.
Yeah.
It's solvent resistant. It's tough stuff.
It's cool stuff. Really cool. I've actually played. I met a company that was manufacturing it 2 years ago at SEMA, and I'm still talking to them about kind of developing it. The hard part is for me, right? Obviously, it's a killer product. Type of product for like small jobs. It's expensive, but like also it's not really like my main thing with the company, right? Is the car kits or restorations and that kind of stuff. No one's gonna spray primer, UV it, spray primer on the next panel, UV it. Like
but they will cut through when their bodywork's not right. They get it straight, and it's like cool. Instead of repriming and wasting a whole bunch of time, you can UV that spot.
True.
And you can get there's affordable UV curing lights out there now that
for sure.
That's not unobtainable. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Scan Grip, actually, I think I've got 2 lights coming from Scan Grip that they wanted me to test out, but they have a $400 little square UV cure light.
I've seen that.
Saucy's got it.
Yep.
For $400, it's like a DIY person. Like if you're doing a couple of paint jobs a year,
right?
It's totally worth having that. Yeah.
Yeah, at least small jobs.
You could fix cut throughs and
exactly. Yeah, like that kind of stuff. Yeah, and like that's kind of my thing is like I love the products, and I definitely plan on making and modifying and having my own versions of it. I just haven't spent the time, effort, and money on it because right now I'm obviously ever since SEMA, right? I've been pushing the whole new system, new products, that kind of stuff, and like I had to focus on the customers and the type of stuff that is needed in the current, in my car kits, right? I'm not going to use a UV primer in the car kits because that's only, really for small jobs. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't make sense for priming a whole car, right? But yeah, I love the idea of the UV stuff. I think that's one of the biggest jumps in the industry in a long time.
Oh yeah, and that's not to say that 2K stuff doesn't have its place because we still at the shop, now that I have a prepper and we have time, I'll use 2K probably 60% of the time, and then the rest of it, it's like, nah, we'll just UV prime
the quick stuff.
And I'll UV prime it myself and just get it in and out. But
because you're going to seal it no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the other part it's not a new change at all, but like waterborne paint, like you said,
Yep.
that's one of those things that I think a lot of like older guys, they just, they either love it or hate it. You know, I've got
Yeah.
buddies that are 50, 60 years old, but they've been using waterborne since it came out, and it's like they love it and they see the
Yep.
benefits of it. But
Yeah.
it's one of those things in the collision industry that is commonplace now because,
I
you know,
agree.
obviously like EPA and all
Yeah.
the regulations on
Hmm.
VOCs. But
Yep.
I don't
Yeah.
know, waterborne is, it takes a different kind of approach because you can't
Yeah.
spray it like solvent.
Right, and that was what I was gonna say. Is like I think a lot of people, and I sprayed. I don't remember what one it was. I don't think it was actually Envirobase. I think it was like the old PPG if they had a different water system before. But I remember
Yeah,
it would
like,
like if you didn't have that huge dryer system that was blowing air from both sides, on the
yeah,
wall, it took
yeah.
forever, and that's why most people didn't like it.
Well, it's because it takes turbulent air.
Right.
It's so like a regular downdraft. I can't remember the term for it, but regular downdrafts have like a
Hmm.
smooth flow
Yep.
around the vehicle, right?
Yep.
So waterborne paints, you have to have a turbulent air source going over the surface to draw the water content out. And yeah, that's a lot of people in my videos get confused when I say, "Oh, I have to wait for the base coat to dehydrate." And it's like, well, because it's suspended in water.
It's water.
Like,
Yeah,
it's
it's literally
latex
water.
in water is all it is.
That's all it is. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a really cool product, but I think that was what turned off a lot of the old guys. And then once they they
Yeah.
didn't have it set up, and then they had a bad experience with it, or the blue milkiness kind of scared them away. Because
Yeah.
like obviously when you're spraying it
Yeah.
on, it's like most of them are blue or white or whatever, and you're like, oh, that's
Yeah.
not going to match.
Well, and it's, I mean, solvent, obviously. I mean,
Yeah.
you and I love our solvent
Right.
paint, but it's one of those things that like the older guys will always say, "Oh, my solvent's way faster than that." And it's
Right.
like it might skin over faster,
Right.
but it's not faster because yeah, it's skinned over, but you just blew air over it,
Right.
trapped solvents,
Exactly.
and now that's going to die back in a month,
Yep.
and it's going to look like crap. Like you're
Right.
just misusing your
Exactly.
stuff. Like,
Yep. And that comes back to the
silly.
whole production side, right? That's
Yeah.
that's the whole. A lot of people get in their mind like get it in and out as fast as you can, and like that. Yes, but like also no, right? You want to make sure you're
Yeah.
doing it
Just,
correctly, and all that.
it takes far less time to do it right than to do
Right.
it twice.
Oh,
So
dude,
I'd
absolutely.
rather
That's a
just do it
great.
right.
That's a great way of saying it.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess the next question I got is how do you balance kind of your day to day and then the content side? Obviously, I would imagine your job still makes you more money. So I assume that
Oh
is the
yeah.
priority.
Yep. Well, my family's
Well,
priority number one.
sure, obviously.
The job is always number two, my boy.
Right. Right. That's fair.
But no, it's pretty much the way I do it is when I get up at 6 in the morning, and when I like 6 to 5, that's job and content.
Hmm.
From 5 o'clock until about 9 o'clock, that's family time. I ain't doing
For sure.
nothing else but being with my kids and
Yeah, I like that.
hanging out with my fiance. And then 9 o'clock, depending, I'm either editing a YouTube video or we're watching our shows, and I'll
Yeah.
do it another night. You know, I think I balance it pretty good. And then on the weekends, I don't do anything with content.
No,
It's
for sure. Yeah.
my weekends, like, unless it's a special thing, like if I'm going somewhere to help somebody with a project or whatever, like my kid's probably coming with me. You know
Right.
what I mean? My daughter is 6 and she just wants to go where I'm going.
That's
So
cool.
it's like she just rolls with and hangs out. She enjoys it. So yeah, I pretty much only do content when I'm at the shop.
Gotcha. And with that content, right? Like, are you doing mostly like are you doing the content around the job that you're working on, or do you kind of
Yep.
have like a list of ideas that you happen if they fit in? Like some of the content is based on what you're doing, or do you have like a list of types of content you want to make?
I don't run on lists. It's
Yeah.
all, I'm not even gonna lie to you, bro. I've got some stuff obviously planned, but the majority of stuff that you see day to day is all just, oh hey, this
Off the
would be
cuff.
cool. Oh hey,
Yeah.
this is yeah, it's all off the cuff. And I mean that's the one thing that Saucy and I were talking about is he was asking me how I organize what content I'm gonna do. And I'm like, dude, I just do it per day, you know? It's like I don't, obviously I'll get like a new product or something that I wanna make a review or something on. and I'll kind of plan that out, but I use it first before filming and make sure if I don't like it, it ain't gonna make it. But yeah, I kind of like to fly by the seat of my pants because I'm more creative that way anyway.
Well, also, I think a lot of people relate to that more, right? Because like it doesn't
Yeah.
seem so like scripted and planned and that kind of stuff. It really is
Yeah, it's
really
not scripted at all.
no, dude. I saw a comment on. I shared your video that was using our paints on the smart card, right? And one of the
Hmm.
comments on that, which I didn't let get to me, but clearly I saw it. But like they were like, oh, he'll say anything nice about something that's sent to him or pays him, right? And it
Yeah.
didn't sit with
Was
me
I paid?
knowing no, and that
Because
was
I
kind of,
wasn't
you
paid.
know, I know, and I'm like, dude, like that's like, yes, I sent you some of the stuff, but it's also
Yeah.
because you're one of my good friends. Like we talk all the time,
Yeah.
and it just
Yeah.
annoys me that people they don't know you, right? And they just kind of like
Yeah.
assume it, right?
But
And
that's the thing, dude. You can't like comments like that. I just breeze past because
right,
it's one of those things. Like I understand how the guy feels because I feel the same way with. I don't know if you've seen like the alt cologne. So I'm a bit. I like cologne. I like to
okay,
smell good. I like
okay,
stuff like that. Well, I keep seeing like video reviews on how good this stuff is. Then you finally see that one positive or that one negative review, the real review,
right.
and you're like, oh, these sons of they're just lying. And
Yeah,
that's what I try to just like I get why people feel that way because
yeah.
that's how the world is
That's
now.
fair. That's like
It's just
AG1.
one. Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
it tastes
It's
so
just
good. No, it
one
tastes
big
like
marketing
ass.
move. Yeah. Well, and that was one of the things like when I was at SEMA and I went and checked out like Q1. I
Hmm.
went and chatted with them and got to feel all the tape and I'm like, man, I was looking for a replacement for American PG cuz PG is decent tape, but it just wasn't
Yeah.
sticking how I wanted
Yep.
it to.
I remember
So I
American.
went and checked out the Q1, yeah, and I was like, "Oh my god, how do I get this?"
Right.
Started using it and everybody's like, "Oh, you must be getting paid." And it's one of those things like, "No, dude, like I've been looking for a good tape for a long
Right.
while and like this is the move for me."
Right.
And now
Yeah.
people are trying it and loving it. So
Right.
it's like I'm not just bullshitting.
Right. No, and that's kind of the thing too, right? Like a lot of the people I work with now, right? Like obviously there's no, I sell linear blocks. I sell the Luma
Yep.
spray guns, people like that.
Yep.
Not only am I friends with the owners, right? But I became friends with the owners after I used those products and loved those products and like wanted to promote and
Yep.
sell them, right? And like that's the thing that
Yep.
a lot of people don't understand. Like, yes, you make content about stuff you enjoy or for people or with people you enjoy working with, right? It's not
Yep.
necessarily, just what you're going to get paid for, right? And that's kind of
Right.
the big thing when it comes to content.
Well, and it like riddle me this. Like, say these people that make those comments, say their favorite tool manufacturer reached out to them and said, "Hey, we want to work with
Oh,
you
for sure.
and make some video reviews and stuff." Are you going to tell them no? Absolutely not. You're not going to tell them no, but
No.
at the same point, you better be honest
Right.
because that's the one thing. Like, if you just bullshit people, well,
Right.
then guess what? They go and buy that tool because of you, and it sucks.
All that credibility's gone. Yep.
Yep, see ya. And that's a lot of times, man, I'm sent so many weird things.
Hmm.
Oh, we want you to try this. Oh, we want you to try that. And then I have to email the people back and say, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to make a video on this. You don't want me to make a
No,
video on this.
no,
Well, why
exactly.
not? Because nobody's going to buy this at all.
After
Like
I say
I'll
something,
just
after I
leave you
tear you
alone.
apart. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I don't want to be like negative to these
Yep.
people, but it's like no, like this ain't it. This is what you
Right.
need to do to fix
Here's
this.
your
But
here's your feedback. Fix it, and then maybe I'll do a video. Right. Like
yeah,
basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So
Well,
I guess.
that's kind of. Hold on, I got to get one thing because
All
I've been
right.
asked a lot about an Iwata review.
Oh God, you're gonna do it. You're gonna
Uh,
say it.
no, I'm not. I'm not going to say anything like hyper negative, but
Okay. All
a
right.
lot of people like I like poking fun at Iwata guys because they are the most sensitive group of painters that I've ever met in my life. You and I had this discussion. If you start with Iwata, you don't like anything else because guess what? It's way too fast for you. No, it's not Iwata. Well, the series 2, everybody wanted me to make a review on that, and I made one just on my TikTok because the HVLP, the blue cap gun, not for me. The
Right.
series 3 clear gun, I just wasn't consistent with it. Like the way that the dang thing sprays, I just I couldn't get down with it. So I'm like,
Mhm.
bro, I'm not gonna like go out there and say this is the end all be all because it's not for me.
No.
Like, but I'll just leave it at that. It's just not a gun for me, you
Yeah.
know. And that's as honest as I feel like I need to be. Is like I didn't like it. Like, you
I
know what I mean?
so the old Iwata, right? Like the original
Yeah.
Iwata Supernova,
The
right?
LPHs are great,
And even
but
what's the other?
The WS ain't it.
Yeah, not the new one especially. I'm just
Yeah.
though I honestly think the older Supernova was better than the Series 2 for me.
Yeah.
Both are too
I
slow.
don't know about
Let's be
that.
real. Both are
Yeah.
pretty
The old one was way harder to set up. The new one, I mean, you could do full fan, full fluid, and set it at 30 pounds. And I mean, you're going to get a pretty good finish out of the dang
sure.
thing. And a lot of guys do.
Right.
But yeah, it's
Not
just,
as user friendly.
well, it takes a lot more getting used to. Like, I would
That's fair.
much rather use my Exodus or use my Segola
Right.
or DV1 Clear. Like, those three are like the three that I really enjoy.
Right. Yeah. And both
But
well,
they're controlled.
other than the DV1, the other two are much quicker also. So it sounds like
Yeah.
you prefer a quicker gun like I do.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and that's like the Segolas. They're just fast. I mean, they're
Yeah.
fast. They're accurate. I get the
Yep.
same repeatable finish every single time.
Yep.
The anytime I want a little bit extra sauce on it, I'll put the Exodus in there. And
Right.
like today, I did a Dodge Ram, and it was like, I'm basically painting this whole truck.
Yeah.
We'll put a little extra yum yum on this one.
Yeah, that's true.
It worked out.
The Exodus does put out a lot of product,
Oh yeah, dude.
which is nice.
It's a nice gun though.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I love those things. All right. So I guess now let's change gears. Obviously, we talked about your past and that kind of stuff, and then content. I
Yeah.
want to hear what's the worst project you've ever been a part of. And let me preface, I come from the custom and restoration world, right? And I had a car come in. It was a car that looked like it was going to be a fairly straightforward, not scuff and shoot, but basically fix a few dents, a little bit of rust work, and then most of the car's ready to go, right? And you start chipping away, and then there's that much filler, right? And I start taking a hammer with a chisel, chiseling it off, and I basically have the quarter panel sitting here. So I'm curious to hear, because you're in a different world than me for the most part. So I'm curious to hear some of the worst.
Mine ain't like that. So the worst project that I've ever been a part of. So when I worked at the auto auction, we would work on industrial equipment every now and again. And some guy brought in a gravel crusher, a rock crusher. Now, we had an 80-foot semi truck booth, right? Just a cross draft. And this guy wanted this thing sandblasted, painted, and two-tone. There was like where the actual crusher was, there was a two-tone stripe around it. That was by far the absolute worst thing that I've ever painted in my career because I had a 5-gallon pressure pot, thankfully. That we dumped 5 gallons at a time. I think I probably sprayed 100 gallons of paint on this thing, and it took me probably 72 hours straight. Yeah, it was god awful. I'll never ever ever do anything industrial again. Like that just was not for me. I don't know how guys do that. Like mad respect to you guys, that ain't for me. I'm too old for that crap now. Nah, I'm out. But that was by far the worst for me. Because as far as cars, I mean, that's you got to put a new quarter on it because it was filled with
Right.
filler. It's like
Yeah,
that's
so
nothing compared to
whatever.
doing
That's
doing
fair.
a rock crusher.
That's fair. So you didn't have one that like just haunted you, right? Like you painted it, you
I
cleared it,
mean,
something happened, you had to rescuff it, you had to repaint it. You haven't had
oh
any of
yeah,
those.
I've had
That's just part
plenty
of
of
it.
those. I work in collision. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
that's
just a part
fair.
of the
That's fair.
deal.
That's
Like
fair.
you always have them nightmare cars. Like we've had. I'll tell you a story that happened in the last year. We had a customer that we did a Jeep Compass, and it was that candy blue, right? I did a fender repair, new front bumper, and that was it. Everything came out perfect. And then this guy came in to get his car and then tried to blame us for obvious rock chips
Mm-hmm.
across the whole front end of his vehicle that
Mm-hmm.
apparently weren't there and somehow we did it. So I mean that's about as bad as it gets in the collision industry. And
Yeah,
then
that's fair.
he tried to blast us on Facebook and It's like, okay, well, hold up here. Like this car was in the shop for 3 days. Where would we drive this? How would we put rock chips
Right.
in your vehicle? Like it was absolutely ridiculous. But things like that, you
Yeah,
end up with customers that are
of course.
nightmares sometimes. But
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
it just is what it is.
my buddy owns a mechanical shop, right? He always says
Yeah,
like, I swear every car comes in for a brake job and then they leave with a check engine light apparently, and it's our fault. Like,
yeah.
it's kind of like the same deal, right? Like not even remotely
Well,
close to what you're going to be doing.
not only that, but it's like it's those same people that fail to realize that we take pictures before the car enters the repair
Yep.
facility.
Yep.
So it's like, oh, then why in this photo when your car was dropped off is there rock chips all across the
Right.
front?
Why? Yeah. Interesting. Maybe you didn't notice. Like, benefit of
Yeah,
the
and
doubt,
that,
right? Maybe the person
maybe
didn't.
that's what it was.
Right. But still, like
But
that's a little crazy.
yeah, that kind of stuff happens. But again, it's like a negative comment. It's like some
For sure.
people just aren't ever happy.
Right. So obviously, I know you do a lot of like the tips and tricks and stuff. Do you have any that you have found that the content popped off because it was a revolutionary thing or something that most people don't know? Like, do you have any of those that people could,
But dude, one just happened.
really?
One just happened. Didn't you? Yeah, didn't you just see that video where I had water underneath my plastic
Oh yeah, yeah. And then the
and
heat gun, or not
bro,
heat gun, the
but
torch.
not no the torch. Yeah, and
Hmm.
so many people like that doesn't work. It comes back, and it's like, dude, it's on OEM paint. It's not coming back.
Right.
If it was fresh paint, yeah, by all means,
Absolutely.
do not do that.
Yep.
But yeah, no, it was just I had bagged a car, dried it before I
Yep.
even pulled it in the booth, and I must have had just a couple of spots of
Hmm.
water left. Well,
Yep.
then you hit them with that propane torch, and voila, they're gone. But then the
Right.
comment section just goes nuts because the context
Yep.
of what happened really isn't there. So
Yeah.
that kind of stuff happens all the time, but
Yeah, that's fair.
everything gets taken out of context and
Well, of course.
it is what it is.
Yeah, when I saw that video, it triggered a little bit of PTSD inside of me. So I remember we sprayed a car, and it was the most hell car I've ever, other than like the restoration ones, right? It was like a custom
Hmm.
paint job. It was on an IS 250, and we were doing it for World of Wheels Boston. It was one of our biggest projects at that time that we were doing, and we had just finally finished
Hmm.
it. We had repainted it twice, right? So this is the second time we painted it. And we were like,
Jesus.
all right, so this was like full show car, so it was wet sanded, it was fully polished, like mint, right? And we were like, oh,
Yep.
we want to spray a few, we wanted to respray, I think like a fender or something, because like we burned through in an area, and
Yep.
we bagged the whole car with plastic, not realizing on fresh paint the solvents are still coming out, and then it's going to imprint, right? And
Yep.
then we do that, and then we unpeel it, and then all of these marks, just similar marks that happens with the plastic when there's water. It's the same with the solvent,
Yep.
except the solvent gets trapped on top, and then you have to re-wet sand and buff it, right?
Yep.
Dude,
Exactly.
when I saw your video, I was like, oh my! Before I even listened to what you're saying, right? Because a lot of times it starts playing
Yeah.
without talking, and I was like, dude, if I could have just taken a torch to that whole car, and I spent an
Yeah,
extra
and that it
60
doesn't work.
hours, no, it does not work. I tried it
Yeah.
literally the other day, but I was like, oh my god, if that would have been a real thing, like instantly you got my attention with the torch. So that
Yeah.
was just,
Yeah.
yeah, it
Yeah, and some of those, that's what I think a lot of people like if you want to make content, it's like just and you're starting from scratch, stuff like that. Like if you want to build an audience really fast, simple videos like that like grab attention in the first few seconds. They don't even need to be long. Grab their attention and then slowly as that following gets built, then you can start doing the stuff that you want.
right. Well, and that's kind of
It's
the other
hard
thing.
today though.
In my opinion, I think the biggest tip, and you would know better than me, but at least for me, the ones that I find that do well for us is the ones that are giving
Hmm.
value, right? Teaching them
Yeah.
something, explaining something, or any of that. And I think that's where most people should probably start with content. Do you agree?
Yeah. I mean, either give value or trigger somebody. I like
Well,
doing both.
yeah, the triggering though, then you know who I'm about to talk
But
about, but
yeah,
you know,
maybe not for a business trigger
yeah,
people, but for me, I just like poking fun. Like I said, my
poking
number
fun's
one
different.
job at the shop is yeah, and that's what I mean. I don't mean like say some controversial stuff, but
I
I
guess what I was
mean,
thinking, the first thing that came to my mind is like basically you know how to do it properly, and then purposefully doing
yeah,
it the opposite, and then telling people that's how you
yeah,
should do it to get the people to comment, and then you go viral, right?
yeah,
There's a lot of people that do
yeah,
that.
yeah, absolutely. We ain't even gonna bring them fools
No,
up because
but you know who I'm talking about.
it's yeah, I know who you're talking about, and it's just it's one of those things that it's like, I mean, there's what do they say about used cars? There's an ass for every seat. I mean,
It's fair.
there's somebody that wants that kind of work, and
Mm-hmm.
by all means, I mean, it's not going to come from me, but
Right,
it's if you want a cheap paint job, there's so many guys on the internet that'll give you a cheap paint
for
job.
sure.
That's just
Yep,
that's fine.
yep, and then tell
I've
everyone
thought
that that's
about
what it
that.
should cost.
Oh yeah, well, and I taught. I who was I talking to the other day? I can't remember who I was on the phone with, but we were talking about all these painters online that are doing stuff for super cheap. And it's like, dude, I'm after thinking about it, I don't hate it because you know
Right,
what? It's like
you're
there
helping
I would
someone.
rather them yeah, but I would rather them get paid for that cheap paint job than say a Mako.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
Because at the end of the day, Mako doesn't pay their employees all that great. So
Right.
it's like, no, dude, you can charge somebody $1,000, paint their
Yeah.
car. Cool.
Absolutely.
That's going in your pocket, not that corporation. So
Mhm.
it is what it is.
Yeah. Plus, there's always going to be a customer. Obviously, they're not the customer I would want, and they're not the customer you would
Yeah.
want. But like, there's a lot of
Yeah.
customers that just don't have the money, but they want it to clean it up, or they want it to look better, or
Yeah.
they want to change the color. Like, sure, like that's perfect. That's for you,
Yeah.
right? Or
Well,
DIY. In my
it's no
opinion, those are the
different.
people that should be DIYing. Really,
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, the hard part with DIY though is not everybody's got a garage, not everybody has an air compressor, and I totally get that.
for sure.
It's it's just one of them things which I'm actually going to be working on some content about that topic
Yep.
because you and I
Yeah,
have talked
we
about
talked
like
about that.
LVLP guns and
Yeah. Yep.
yeah, doing DIY stuff. So that'll be coming as soon as it's not a arm of snowgeddon outside of my house.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
Bro, we got like almost a foot of snow outside right now. It's absolutely insane.
Next week we're supposed to get 21. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm about to go out to my family's place and get the snowmobiles out.
Heck yeah, that'll be awesome. Yeah, dude. And I don't
Yeah,
know if
go
you
play.
saw, but like I have my sale going on. I called it the fire and ice sale. It was
Yep.
kind of because
Yep.
half the country was either totally snowed in or on ice, or the other half was literally on
Yep.
fire.
Burning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, what a weird time that we live in right now.
Oh, dude, this whole winter has been crazy. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
between like elections and like
Oh,
all the
dude,
stuff that's coming out with that, it's just like, holy
I know,
crap.
I know.
I'm curious to see what happens as far as like the EPA stuff with
Yeah.
like deleted trucks and like
Mm-hmm.
tuning
Yeah,
and
the
all the
DEF stuff,
fines they
all
handed
that.
out. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's just it was all one big money grab that we'll see what happens.
Right. No, I agree. I agree. Well, all right, dude. I'm gonna let's end this on. I got a couple more quick questions, and then we'll call it. And then
Okay.
we'll do another one. Maybe we'll try and do this once a month or something. Because
Oh
I've
yeah,
got
I'm down.
a lot of stuff. But when it comes to content that you actually like to watch, because obviously you make a lot of content, but like you already talked
Yep.
about Turbo, which obviously I'll link to him in the bio on this TikTok, and then
Yep.
Saucy. But like, what type of content do you like to watch, whether it's paint related or not? What type of stuff are you currently watching?
I mean like short form. I like funny crap. You know what I mean? Typical dude stuff. But in terms of like say YouTube, Vice Grip Garage, obviously Cletus, all of those guys. Brian from Paint Society, he's a good
He's
friend of mine, and
he's a good
he's
dude.
actually the reason I went out and bought these microphones because he showed them to me one day, and literally 3 hours later, I sent him a picture of the new box, and it's like I ain't messing around, bro. I'm doing this, but
Yeah, he's a good dude, man.
yeah,
I
Car
met
Candyman too.
yeah, he's a good dude too. Yeah, I uh,
Yeah,
I met Brian at SEMA this year. Obviously, we had chatted before, like on Instagram and stuff. But I talked to him.
yeah.
I didn't realize that he during the day was a auto body teacher, which is interesting.
Did He's a PE teacher.
Is he?
Yeah. He
I
works at
knew.
a school as well, on top of doing YouTube and on top of being a painter and on top of having a family. That is the busiest man that I think I've ever seen in my life.
No
And he
kidding.
just, yeah, crushes it all the time. Like,
Yeah,
yeah. I relate to him so hard. Obviously, he's
such a
got
good
2
dude.
kids, I have 2 kids, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's like that's what we do it for, you know. I'll do
Oh,
all the
exactly.
hard work. You just enjoy this, you know.
Right. No, that's cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Are
Oh
you a
yeah,
big
and the
are you a big
gunman. If you
podcast? Oh, dude, yeah. I remember
The
the one.
gunman, shout out to the gunman. I'm gonna just say this right now. You the goat. We know it.
I agree. I
he
agree.
he was honestly when I started in this industry, the gunman's videos on YouTube, the old stuff when he had his own little shop,
Yep, that's what I'm
that
talking about.
right there. Oh, dude, but that when I was a prepper at the auction and I didn't know what the hell I was doing, I was just winging it.
Yep.
I watched the gunman. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna copy what he's doing, and guess what? The shit worked.
Right.
So it's like I took a lot of what he taught us on YouTube.
Hmm.
And then once I got my feet under me and I'm like, you know what? I'd like to share some of this myself.
Yeah,
It's a lot of the same things that he does.
absolutely.
And now he's a friend of mine. You know what
Right.
I mean? I know for a fact that if I went to Australia, he'd be like, "Yep, come on by. Let's
Right.
hang out." You know,
Yeah, dude.
he's just a rad dude.
Yeah, I remember
Crazy.
the first video I remember from him, and this was before really I was doing a lot of stuff, right? And
Yeah.
I remember I had gotten a run, and he has, and I'm sure you know, that glaze trick. He was the first video I ever
Yep.
saw with the glaze trick. You know, because like
Yep. I
everyone,
seen
all the
that
other
one too.
videos was grab a razor blade and just go like this on it,
Yep.
and he's like, ah no,
Yep.
glaze, block it with a hard block with like real. And I remember the first time because I think he said he started with like 320, and my mind was
Yeah.
blown at that point because at that point I wasn't even doing body work or anything, right? And like
Yep.
do your dolphin glaze, hard block until you're close, and then work your way up until 3000. I remember the first time I did it, and I'd never
And
commented
it
on
worked.
I'd never commented on a single YouTube video at that point.
Yep.
That was the first video I ever commented in my life. And I was like, dude, you are the effing man.
Yep. It saved me so much
Oh
headache.
my
Yeah.
god, dude. And I use that trick every time I get a rundown.
Yep. Well, and that's I get messages like that all the time. Man, I watched this video that you had out, and I've been doing it since, and this has been working so good. And it's like, that's it. A lot of times, it's not stuff that like I didn't come up with this. It
Right.
was just something that somebody showed me, and it's like, dude, I'm gonna make a video on
Yeah.
this, and it helped so many people. You know,
Absolutely.
because
Yeah.
there ain't no gatekeeping in this. That's absolutely silly.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know if you saw my video. It was just a short video that I did. I wasn't even wearing a TSS shirt or anything, and I was just talking about like doing painting in cold weather, right? A bunch of tips and tricks
Yeah.
like how to heat it, how to prep, that kind of stuff. And like that video,
Yeah.
like it didn't do like crazy numbers like a lot of stuff yours do, but like it was really cool to see the value in like the comments, and like even then I think it got like
Yeah.
50,000 views, which is a lot for like just a random video that took you 2 seconds
Well,
to do.
and you look at like YouTube. YouTube is one of those platforms that like it's hard to really get those kind of views.
Right.
And my videos on YouTube don't do crazy numbers, but the comments are far more engaged,
Exactly.
and I can actually like help somebody better on YouTube
I agree.
versus short form stuff.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, short form is cool because you can like reply with a video, which is nice.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
one nice thing. But yeah,
Absolutely.
I definitely agree. Like I know you and I talked about this. Like my main focus for this year is going to be a lot of the long form stuff on YouTube.
Yep.
And then because you can always chop it up and then use it across, all the
Yep.
others and like clips, right? Like this podcast is going to be clipped on my TikTok and on
Yep.
YouTube and all that, And I know you. I guess we can pivot to this last point. You obviously were just doing the smart car, right? And
Yep.
are you still planning on scuffing it and changing up the black?
Yeah. We put the fender on. I was so hyped on that color, but we put the fender on. It was just like,
I know.
but like
I
this just isn't it.
I agree.
You were
I
the
mean, I
first
saw it.
phone call I made too, because we were both just like, oh no, that is coming. If you're listening to this and you're like, wait, I haven't seen that yet, it is coming. I promise you. It is in the works, but we're changing the color on the smart car. We're going a different route. it's honestly going to be cooler anyway.
It's gonna.
So
It is. I mean, like as soon as you sent it to me, right? Like in theory, right? Tinted
yeah,
red with an OEM bright red.
and red.
You would
Yeah,
think it would look cool, but the red was just
yeah,
too bright compared to the maroonish red that's in the tinted red.
yep, yep.
So
So it didn't jive, but I still love that tinted red.
me
I
too.
need it on something,
I
but
know. I know.
it's all good. We'll get it sorted.
I'm excited to see it, nonetheless. So is that going to be one of the next long forms you're going to be doing?
Yeah, well, so YouTube, I do a couple of them every week, but that one is coming, I think, if not this next Friday, the Friday after that, we're going to respray all that stuff because it's going to be a really quick. I don't
Yeah.
have to really
Yeah, it
clean
should
much. All
be
I got to do
quickie.
is, yeah,
Yeah.
DA and get everything back in the booth. So
Yeah, and you're not going to
it
redo
should
any of
be
the.
happening here soon.
You're not going to redo any of the red, right?
Now we're gonna do a cool little effect on top. Remember,
Oh
we're
yeah,
gonna do
I forgot I
the
sent you that.
diamond pearl.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you are.
diamond pearl on the red. So it'll change it up a little bit just
Just a
to
little,
match
just a
what we're
flow.
going for.
Yeah, we learned our
Yeah.
lesson, huh?
So, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Don't have solid next to an effect. We're going all effect on this one.
yeah, that'll be cool. I think your friend's dad's gonna enjoy it that way too. That way it is a
Oh
little more
yeah.
custom.
When he's seen like the example photos, he's like, "Yeah, let's just do that." I'm hype on that. So
Yeah.
it
Did you
should
like
be
the
good.
tinted red? Has he seen it?
Oh yeah, he loved it. And then we put the fender on for him, and he goes,
Oh, so he saw it with
"Oh!" I'm
you.
like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
yep,
yeah, dude. I
yeah."
thought for sure it was gonna be a killer combo too.
Oh yeah, it was just swing and you miss. You got to take risks. We took a
That's
risk that
fair.
didn't pay off, so
Yeah, that's
it's
fair.
all right.
Yeah. Well, it kind of has to be. But all right, dude. I know it's
Yeah,
Friday night. I'll let you go. I appreciate you
yeah.
being
I'm
our
gonna go snow
first,
blow again.
dude. So it's
Oh
snowing
yeah.
right now, huh?
Oh dude, yeah. We're under winter weather advisory for I don't even know how many hours now.
Yeah,
It's been all day though.
yeah. That's us next week. I think we're
Yeah.
supposed
Good
to
luck.
start Tuesday.
It's been fun.
Yeah, dude. It was 63 degrees here today, and now we're gonna get like 22 inches of snow next week. Like, so crazy.
Yeah. Have fun.
Yeah,
Are you in the mountains up there? I know West Virginia can get kind of
yeah. So I live in Virginia. The warehouse in West Virginia. I'm like right on the line.
okay.
But yeah, I'm about 45
Yeah.
minutes outside DC. So yeah, in the
Gotcha.
mountain, it's yeah. But I'm in the Blue Ridge. I'm right on the Appalachian Trail. So
Yeah. Yeah. See, it's funny. I don't think I have ever been to that part of the country
really,
ever.
well, here soon.
No.
Here soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of here soon, I'll be for anybody listening in the UK. I'm going to the UK in 2 months.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got an invite. Yeah, for an event in the UK
Cool.
yesterday. I didn't have a passport.
I saw your
Somehow
post.
within 24, yeah, within 24 hours, all of my stuff submitted, and I should have it in 2 weeks. So
Yep,
that'll be my first time being in the UK. So
that's cool.
it'll be pretty cool. I got to go meet like Damage Undone and a bunch of other
So,
creators that
can
are
you
over
say
there.
anything about the event, or is it kind of going to be
Not yet because
okay?
it's not set in stone yet.
Gotcha.
It is happening, but like all the details aren't
Yeah,
out
yeah.
yet. But I will be posting a video just letting everybody know like what's going on, and
Cool.
yeah, it should be pretty fun.
That's awesome, man. Well, before we end, obviously, where can people, ask you questions, get feedback, watch your content? If
Nope.
you want to run through all your different content platforms and your handles.
Olie Olie Paintz. That's it. It's Olie Olie Paintz. You can search that on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. I am on Facebook. I don't really care for
Yeah.
Facebook, but I am on there. My messages on Facebook are so just full at this point that I don't do Facebook messages. You can DM me on Instagram if you got questions.
One
But
thing I did notice though, you do reply to comments in my Facebook group though. I did see that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. In the Facebook group, it's like after using like TSS products, it's like I know what you guys sell. I know like how to make them work. So
Yeah.
that's literally
Yeah, you
that's
made
about
one
the
of my
only
customers
group I
day.
think I'm active in.
Yeah. Yeah, you made one of my customers day the other day. He messaged me after you commented on one of his things. He's like, "Oh, it means so
Yeah.
much. I decided to DIY paint my truck for the first time because of him." Like that was
Oh
so
yeah,
cool.
dude, he killed it. But he
I know.
killed it. Like that's what it's all about. Here's I'm gonna leave on this. People need to remember that we are just dudes that paint stuff. I'm not just because you look at Instagram and it's like, oh man, he's got I don't even know what it is. It's like 100 and something thousand
Right.
followers, bro. That doesn't mean anything. I'm just some
No.
dude from the middle of Montana that's
Yep.
making videos on this stuff. Like
Right.
it,
Well, it's like Brian with Paint
I don't know.
Society, right? You
Yeah,
know,
he's just a regular cool ass
regular
dude.
cool
Like,
dude.
yeah. If you were to meet me in real life, I'd probably talk a lot of smack to you and make you laugh. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Tommy
Literally,
knows.
what you see is what you get here, right? Like
Yeah.
no filter, like that's it.
Yeah. Lots of f bombs. I'm sorry, mom, but
Dude, you and I both.
I just am who I am, man. It'll be all right unless it's not.
Exactly. But all right,
We're
Jimmy.
putting that on a shirt. I'm telling you,
Yo,
Tommy, that's going on a shirt.
let's do it.
It'd be all right unless it's not with my logo.
I
Merch
like it.
coming soon.
All right, we'll add it to your website.
All right, bro.
All right, brother. Have a good weekend. I'll chat with you next week.
You too, man.
All right,
See
man.
ya.